Hello there, cartoon fans. It's time for another brief adventure with the middle-aged cartoonist. Now, if I sound a bit stuffed up, I am. Middle-aged cartoonist has a early winter cold or a late fall cold. What is there to do when one's not feeling well? Well, the same thing to do when one is feeling well. Draw cartoons. You'll be feeling a lot better, at least if you've got a little of middle-aged cartoonist in you. Anyway, here is what's going on tonight. I have gradually been going through some of my records with my flagship character, the Mighty EnergyGirl, and I have been adding skin color. It's good to do that now and then. A lot of the early EnergyGirl works were done with the skin way too white because unfortunately I couldn't find a decent color that would look reasonable, but now I've got one. So we've been going through and adding skin color and then also adding what I call bordering, where we add kind of a colored border around the edge and some other things. These are the masters to the comic books and vignettes. The masters are kept in a book like this. And lo and behold, what do we hear? We have a blank page. I've said a number of times that part of the fun for me is if I get an idea, I may get the whole basic story in my head, but I'll start drawing wherever I'm in the mood for that day and not necessarily at the beginning, and then gradually tie things together. This particular story that we're looking at now is a story called Hollywood Winked, in which EnergyGirl, perhaps foolishly, finally broke down and let them make a CGI animated cartoon movie about herself in exchange for a large donation to the local Fairview Children's Hospital. Unfortunately, when the night came for the big premiere of the movie in her hometown, she was not real happy with it. In fact, she got up and stalked out of the theater. She's always been a rather modest person, and being portrayed kind of like this, grossly exaggerated, made her a bit bent out of shape. And so I had a little fun with this fictitious movie producer and E.G. walking out. You've probably heard about Easter eggs. That's a term relatively new to middle-aged cartoonist, but apparently basically what it means is you hide things in your work that people notice and go, ah. Like, for instance, here we are in the lobby of this old theater, the type you might find in a small town, with posters of coming attractions on the winding hallway, and there's a poster for her movie, which is playing right now. And there in the background is a poster for an oil-fueled boomtown. Any relation to the place where middle-aged cartoonists grew up is strictly intentional. Anyway, so we have fun with her arguing with the producer and then finally telling him, boy, I bet you're glad I'm not a cartoonist. Then I could show you what it's like to have a caricature made of oneself. And then in the end, obviously, I like my stories to end happily. Apparently, the movie producer capitulated. A few scenes were redone, and all ends well for everybody. This is as far back as I've gotten with the skin, because we now go back to Skin Isn't Here Yet. By the way, this is the next story. The guy in the car is gloating they're going to get away because EnergyGirl can't fly, but she can leap off of overpasses. So that's a whole story in itself. Anyway, this story was done in, this one, Hollywood Wink, was done back in 2010. And I always envisioned a page 1 would eventually be coming. You can see there's page 2. Well, tonight was the night. Cartoonist man, or whatever I am, middle-aged forgetful cartoonist, was feeling ill, decided now's the time to draw. So here we have, this is what the pages in this book look like when they first start out. You get an idea on how they're going to be laid out, and doing the text first is obviously wise to have the flow of the story, and the next thing is faces and body poses. And of course, since this is our little super schoolmarm from Fairview well, she's not little, she's actually a pretty big schoolmarm. You don't mess with her. But since she's the most important character, we want to get her face in first. Here, this eventually will be outside of the theater. She and her husband are walking in to see the big film, and she is already saying, I hope this wasn't a mistake. You can see some misgivings on her face. So that's what things look like when they first start out in beautiful, livid black and white. And then eventually, they end up like this. This is the cover to the second of all of these. This is my vignette folder, and all of these are collected into 3 different comic books of vignettes. And that's the other thing I was up to tonight, was just adding the color, and as I mentioned, bordering, where you add a border, usually of a dark but complementary color around the edge to kind of tell the eye where to stop looking, I guess. This one here, this story was called The Bullet Man, where our hero was given an all-expenses paid day at a ladies' spa, supposedly from her grateful employers, until it turned out, we're looking at it backwards of course, but turned out that it was all a setup by this fellow, a 2-bit gangster who called himself the Bullet Man and said, "I'm a superhero too." He then shot her in the stomach 3 times and dumped her in the swimming pool. Unfortunately for him, A, her skin can take bullet shots without much damage, and B, her enhanced ability, she's fully human, but just a little bit more than any of the rest of us. Her highly oxygenated blood enables her to hold her breath underwater a bit longer than the rest of us, so she just stayed underwater, playing dead, quite literally, until his guard was down, and then came bursting out of the water, reached up, grabbed him by the ankle, and then said, "You're a superhero? Well, let's see if you can fly," and tossed him clear across the pool onto the far wall. And hero wisecracking is something that's as much fun for us writers and artists as it is for the heroes. Said, "Well, if you want my opinion, you are good on distance, but lousy on aerodynamics." Okay, so now you know, A, that kind of what I'm about here, and there she is getting shot in the stomach. Bad move on his part. And B, how much fun it is to both write and draw cartoons. If you make up your own characters, you can kind of have free reign. And lastly, if you're not feeling well, even that can be an opportunity to just kind of shuck it all and enter into the world of the people you have created. By the end of the evening, you may not be feeling better, but heck, your cartoons will look a lot better, and you can go to bed saying, "I accomplished something today." This is middle-aged cartoonist with his cold, signing off. Have a good day, and pick up those pencils.